you're able to roll all of this out as efficiently as you do.
How the two-click studio works. That part.
And you know what motivates you? It's amazing how many conversations have you had now? Like
Oof,
hundreds,
yeah, hundreds. I think
thousands.
no, right now I think almost about 250 videos out there. So I mean those, and each of those conversations have been wonderful conversations, like the one we had right now. It's just so nice to have these conversations. So it's just that it's just part of you. You're just talking about things from what comes from your heart. And that's when the heart, soul, spirituality aspect comes in. When you connect at that level with people, I think that's just a wonderful time that you've
So what
spent.
drives you, Vikram? What keeps you going to
I
come
think
to go from one symposium to the next, one speaker to the next?
I think only this part, connecting with, and look, I choose the people who come. And that aspect, I think that's for me is the most important part. Whom do I have those conversations with? That's that's the challenge, maybe, or that's the enjoyable part when you actually get the right people and you have those conversations. So that's the only thing that I've been clear about, that it's going to be people that I feel I want to talk to, people who bring certain aspects about themselves, about mediation, which I connect with. So that's what is the important part. Once that is done, conversations are really enjoyable. So and when I'm told that you're doing a lot of work in terms of, like Ken says that, and I mean, it feels nice. And every time he says, I keep telling him, what do? I just have conversations. That's all I do. So that's how
Yeah,
it is.
that's
So
amazing. And you also like to bring out the goodness in people. You're able to obviously get people to give of themselves, which is amazing. Okay, then again, you're working with the mediator community which is an amazing community to work with.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say, that the people with the mediator mindset by themselves are wonderful people. First of all,
Mhm.
you have to, of course, identify them. And that's what I've been trying to say, because that's my focus now, to identify those with the mediator mindset in every corner of the world, be it every village in the world. Be able to identify those people. If we can make little clips of those people, these are things which needs to be circulated, saying that these people exist, value them.
Mhm.
And once you start valuing them, and this is what Sarah's conversation that took us through, that there were these people who the leaders had those mediation skills, or they were mediators. And then we moved from there, and power play came into play, and that's when things changed. So we need to value these people, bring them into various aspects.
Bring
I
them
mean,
into the forefront again.
exactly.
We got to replace that powerful village elder with the respected village elder again.
Exactly. And that is difficult only for the reason because they're not going to do it themselves. They're not
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
They're content people. They want to help people, but they're not going to go out and say, oh,
Push
vote for
themselves.
me and I want to be in an election, nothing like that. But we'll have to bring them out. And people
Correct.
will have to bring them out. And that's what I keep saying. It's not about me. I keep telling people that just yourself, identify people in your community, in your family, value them, bring them out, tell people about them, and let them help people resolve the disputes around them. And that's
Mhm.
how things will change. I mean, it's not that, of course, I am saying that, okay, I'll create a platform where we can put, like I said, these clips, just
Right.
so that people know these people exist. It's not
Right.
that I'm just saying these words and I'm talking about people who don't exist anymore. No, they still exist. People will still
Mhm.
exist.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so I think that's that part of it. Once that
Lovely.
happens, and that movement of people doing it themselves, I mean,
Yeah.
just the thought has to go through. Like I told you about this connection with these teachers in Bihar. Hi, Gabriela.
Hi.
Gabriela,
Hello, good
that's
morning.
Tara. Tara, that's Gabriela.
Nice
Very
to meet
nice to
you,
meet you.
Gabriela.
Gabriela, we are live, so your session is already on. So
Awesome.
Okay.
Have fun with your discussion with mediator Vikram. I love it.
with Gabriela, we've
Uh,
had such wonderful conversations. You watch them on the YouTube channel. Just have to search what Mediator Vikram Gabriela. You'll find lots of conversations we've had. She's such an interesting person. And I mean, you just have okay. Just watch them. I won't talk about them.
I
Watch
will.
them, and
I will do that.
you'll find them really
And
interesting.
have fun with yet another conversation.
Absolutely. So
See
thank you,
you.
Tara.
Take care, Vikram. Bye bye.
Bye.
Have a
Bye.
good day, Gabriela. Bye bye.
bye-bye. Vikram, I'm looking for my glasses and I need them. So even though we are live, I will ask you for 1 second.
No problem. No problem.
Now
What I'll do
I
is
think I know where it is. Huh?
I'll put on the slides for April. At least let me just take people through that till the time you find your glasses.
All right. 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah. Please take your time. Take your time.
Found them.
Good. And I was just about ready with the slides, but perfect. Now I don't have to show them. So, Gabriela, thank you for coming in. And obviously, it's always nice talking to you. And I know it's going to be a wonderful conversation. Is it going to be a conversation or is it going to be a presentation? What's it going to be?
A conversation.
Sure. Otherwise, yeah. Look, I mean, this is a topic where you can read. I know you can speak for hours on. So if you want to, please, I can just put myself on mute and your show, however you want to do.
It is our show because we are going to talk about heart, soul, and spirituality, right?
Yes.
So the first thing I would like to put here for us to think about, for everybody to think about, is what is spiritual intelligence or spirituality. We can call it in many ways, the mystery, the magic, whatever. In every religion, independently of religion, we all have some kind of contact, some kind of perception about what is spirituality. And in my humble perception, spirituality is about acknowledging that there is more than what we can see. There is more than just ourselves. We are a relationship. We are in relationship. We are absorbed many times by relational patterns. And realizing that is what brings us to a higher level of spirituality. If we don't acknowledge the other one, someone else that is in the same family, or that we chose to be our partner in life, or that we chose to have a friendship, a connection, or that is working side by side with us, if we don't realize this other there that makes me be someone in relation to him or her, there is no religion, there is no pretentious spirituality that will have a true effect on our lives. That's why it needs to be a conversation, because I need you to be more me and to be useful in my place.
Look, I know that I really don't have to open my mouth at all, but I'm there. I'm there.
Just being there is a lot.
But tell me something.
Just bringing us here is a lot. That's what makes you a shining star. You decided to put light on others. So that's what makes your sky more brilliant and more full of light.
But today, why are you not in the light? There is not too much light in your room. What's happened? Why is there not enough light today?
It's raining a lot here. So I'm very concerned about the quality of the internet. And for some reason, it's the morning here, but it's not so shiny. So that's why you're feeling the difference.
Yeah. But why is your mother's name not there? Surname.
That is a good question that I'm intending to correct.
Yes, because now your name goes out as the full name. Certain places, obviously, in the past, what shows we've done, I'll have to correct it there. But yes, now this is your full name. This is the way it's going to be used.
Yeah, that is my full name. Yeah.
Perfect. So, Gabriela, please take us through the journey of heart, soul, spirituality, and mediation, please.
Okay. I had one very interesting presentation in the court in Rio, in Brazil, a long time ago. And someone from the audience, I was one of the speakers, and someone from the audience, I started to talk about relational patterns and how we need to not only perceive them, but help the client in mediation perceive his or her importance in relation to. So you are a mother because, of course, there is a father to someone, because it's impossible to make a new person just by yourself. And acknowledging the importance of this father makes you a better mother. Because I was talking about a concrete case. Okay? So if I am a mother and I believe that my daughter only needs me, that my husband is a total, accessory, but not a principal in her life, of course, my daughter will ask from me things that I cannot give her because I just don't have it. We only give whatever we have. I can play the role, the traditional role of a father, working and bringing money home and putting limits and showing her the need to expose herself to the world. This is normally, it's not fathers. I don't want to talk about gender, but it's the nature of the energy. It's an energy that goes out and expands and brings in whatever was acquired outside of the house, the household. And the female energy is the energy that protects, that nourishes, that is always telling the child, even when the child is 50 years old or more, that is the most important person in the world, and so on and so forth. So these two energies that we can all have inside, we all do have inside, but it is more light. It is more, how can I say, it's less heavy for one parent when it is shared with another one. We normally play good cop, bad cop in education of a child. It is natural. So the mother can only be, how can I say, holding and protecting if there is someone else to go there and tell the child, you have to grow. Otherwise, when this child grows physically, it will not grow emotionally and spirituality wise. It will always be someone who expects to be protected forever, no matter the age. So this is just an example of how this complementarity is necessary. And there are many families where the roles are the opposite. So in my family, for example, it was always my mother who told me to go out and to experience life and to prepare myself to work and to be a professional and to expose myself to the world. She was the one, when I was 7 or 8 years old, who obliged me to study English. And I found it very boring. And none of my friends studied English. And I complained a lot. And she said, one day you will thank me. And we're here.
Which you do, yes, you should do now. And we thank her.
To her.
Yes.
I'm here. So in my family, it was my mother who did that, not my father. My father was the one to say, in a very Lebanese culture, he was the one to say, no, the women don't need to worry about that. We will provide, and the women can stay home and be protected. And I was like, I have options. So we used to discuss a lot. And then when he grew older, he also grew wiser. So we had very enlightening conversations. And he taught me a lot. as well. But even when the parents don't have a good life together, even when they're not a happy couple, they need to have in mind, and our role as a mediator many times is to help them through questions or through reflection or whatever tool we use, but to help them understand their interdependency, right? And this interdependency is what brings them to the mediation table. It is a mathematical equation that interdependency is present whenever two or more people come to mediation. But they don't realize, especially when we are in court and when we are fighting against each other as if one could win alone. No one can win alone, because if you engaged in a fight, just the verb to engage means that there is something else there that is necessary for you to have what you need, what you want. If there was no interdependency, one would just turn the back and go away without spending money, time, and energy into a fight or into a negotiation or into a mediation, because it all requires a lot of time, money, and energy to be there. So acknowledging the importance of the other one is bringing spiritual intelligence to the table, even when we don't realize it or we don't name it. So I said something like that in that event. And then there were other people in the audience asking questions, like first saying, this is the first time that I hear about spirituality and mediation. And it's interesting how it sounds so real and concrete, but we never talked about it in years. How do we deal with it without working on our spirituality, our own as a mediator, as a person? And I said, well, we are always there. We are always dealing with spirituality. And the mediators who don't have this vocabulary, we will deal with it in another way. And each one has the own universe, the own toolbox to come to the table and do the work that the mediator needs to do, which is to help people understand that they are also a God signature. I like this expression relating to the Fibonacci sequence. And when I have people who have this kind of interest and vocabulary, I always mention that the Fibonacci sequence that explains a lot of the natural phenomenon, such as hurricanes or just a plant growing, or the format of, how do I say that? A shell. Anyway, it is very simple. Like everything in nature, when we go to the essence, is very simple. So the equation is, it starts with 1, and then the second number in the sequence is 2, because before 1 had nothing else but itself to put ahead. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. The third number is 3, because 1 plus 2 is 3. The fourth number is 5, because it's 2 plus 3, or 3 plus 2. And so on to the endless, to the infinite. And as simple as that is a way of understanding how we make a difference in the sequence of life. So we have a starting point when we are born. It is just a start, not a destiny. No one is born with the limitation of who came before. We are here exactly to receive everything that was achieved before us, everything that was built and added before us, and we take from there to then do our part in the sequence. And we are, the value that we add is the difference between what we received and what comes afterwards, and what we can give to who comes afterwards. So this sequence was named in the mathematic world as God's signature, because it is present in natural phenomena in general. So when we are a mediator, we go to the table with the mission to look at people who are in their worst version, who got to a point where they couldn't deal with their own issues, problems, hurts, pains alone. So they ask to come for help. And we need to help them find the tools, the values, the abilities, the possibilities that they already have. We're not going to teach them anything that is not already inside of them. So in order to see this greatness, this beauty inside of them, we need to believe it is there, even though most times they come with so many layers of protection that we cannot see with our human eyes. We need to go beyond protection. We need to go beyond their war appearance. Because even when we are in a mediation, although it is collaborative, of course, they are trying to survive against the other. They are in the war mode. So we need to go beyond the armor and help them see, not us. It doesn't matter if we see it or not, but we need to help them reconnect with their power, with their beauty, with their kindness, with their possibility of going beyond the fight, so that they can build something useful out of a painful situation. And it doesn't mean that they will go back to being husband and wife, friends, partners, even neighbors. It doesn't mean that they need to go to where they were before. It means that wherever they go, they can go with a peaceful heart. They can go with the flavor of, I overcame whatever was blocking my way for my own expansion, for my own growth, for my own peace, so that I can live my life, not the others, in the best version I can be. And of course, it needs to happen with all of them. Because if one of them is still in the hurt mode, the system will not work properly. Because the one that is feeling left behind, not heard, not seen, not respected, will always manage to go back to the war mode, because the war mode, the conflict, is a way of asking for help without many times realizing it. So when we are mediators, we are there to help the parties who came in their worst version, find a reconnection path to a better version where they can coexist, even if they don't like each other. a word that a sentence that I like to say is that loving is not liking. You can love someone without liking the person. And many times we have that reality at home. Many times we love our children, but we don't like what they're doing. We don't like how they behave. We don't like their choices, but we still love them. So this is the most pure example that most of us have. And when we don't have children, we always have the experience of being a child to someone who raised us, even if it's not our biological parents. So this person that raises another being shows this love and care in a very, how can I say, it's always a good example that love is not to like. And that's all it takes to coexist. We don't need to like everybody. We don't need to please everybody. We just need to find a way, a respectful way, to be respected and respect. To exchange the or for the and in anything that is decided. So a sustainable agreement needs to take into account everybody's minimum requirements to coexist. And we cannot do this shift that is so important and so, how can I say, so hard to see with our both eyes without spirituality.
Absolutely. Now, the only thing is that I didn't want to break you there. Let's just say hi to Federico. Federico has just come in.
Hello.
Hi, Federico. And
hello. I'm here. I'm just not turning on my camera, but nice to be here. So glad to listen to Gabriela. And
it's always nice to listen to her. That's what I was saying. We just have to listen to her. We don't even have to say anything. We just have to listen to her. But Gabriela, what you have to do is you have to tell us about yourself and your journey in life. And then where does the spirituality aspect come in and your discovery of your heart, soul, something on that.
And spirituality. Okay. But Federico is very welcome to participate. I would love to hear him as well.
The only thing is that because each session, that time is not too much because of the fact that it had to be so many people. So there is a little bit of a time thing. What we can do is after your session ends, in his session, we can take it as long as we want because there's no one after him. Ken Cloak comes in at 9:30. His session starts at 7 o'clock. So we have enough time in between if you want to have a discussion there. Only because I'll tell you why. Because these go out as separate elements in the social media. So yours is a separate thing, his is a separate thing. So I'll have to end yours and start his. So we can continue the discussion there.
All right. So how long do I have?
No, we have that much time. We'll have to take a break at about 6:55. Then in about 25 minutes, we'll take a break and move to that particular, whatever you call it, his session. That's all. Okay. The conversation can continue.
Okay. Well, now it's the hard part. I really don't know when it started, when I started to care about spirituality consciently. Probably before I was born. I would say it was before I was born. I was born in a very difficult way. Me and my mother almost died at birth, and I survived. So it is already a very, how can I say, deep experience. And in my family, I was always very different from everybody around me. We are all, my family is Catholic. And in Brazil, most people are, although we have a lot of religions in Brazil and they are all reasonably respected. And I say reasonably because there is some intolerance as well. But if we compare Brazil to other countries, I think we have a higher level of diversity and respect for diversity. And Brazil is also a very spiritual country. We use our spirituality in a more, how can I say, express way. We talk about it. We go to things and to events and to, how can I say, different spiritual practices a lot. And it's interesting because a lot of people in Brazil, if they're asked their religion, they say, I am Catholic, but I also do this kind of practice. Normally something related or to Buddhism or to Spiritism, which is the line that I work on. It was started by a French and developed much more in Brazil than anywhere else in the world. And it's more like a philosophy of life that takes Jesus as the biggest example of our biggest brother, in a way, someone who came to show us the way how we can be one day. So an example, a path, and a light in the darkness, but also different from the Catholic Church, for example. We don't have saints. What we have is, we're all, I would say, the same family. We're all brothers and sisters, but in different levels of evolution towards perfection. And we will all be perfect one day, considering that we have many lives. So we are an eternal spirit in a temporary body, in our persona in each life.
But Gabriel, what is this called? What is it called? What is
Spiritism?
This? Okay, it's called
Spiritism.
That. Okay.
If you want a reference, Allan Kardec is the name of the person who brought that knowledge into 5 books. They are the basis for everything. And the way he was a scientist, he studied electricity and how can I say that in English? Magnetism. And he was invited to study some phenomena that were going on all over the world, but especially in Europe. He was French and worked with Pestalozzi in the French part of Switzerland in the 1800s. And so he published the first book in 1847, if I'm not mistaken. And afterwards, he published the other ones. There are a compilation. He interviewed a lot of people having these perceptions all over the world, all over the globe. And he sent, at the time by mail, he sent questions, the same questions to everybody, and he applied the scientific methodology into these, bringing together all the answers into something that were the essence of all the answers. So anyway, so this is what I work every week, every day, every minute of my life. And the first time I was invited and I visited one of these meetings, I realized that I belonged there. I was 20 something. I was starting my law school, and a friend of mine, a colleague from law school, took me, and it was immediate. I had no doubt, and I never had a doubt after that I belonged in there, in that philosophy of life that becomes part of what we are. But
what do you think connected you to that? I mean, why did you get that feeling? Do you know what was it that connected you? Anything? It would be interesting to find out.
Some things are not rational. It's just is, and that's what happened. He took me, that's why I was explaining. I was from a Catholic family. I studied in a Catholic school all my life. I had religion classes all my life, and it never touched my heart. I found it very superficial. The dogmas of the church didn't make any sense to me. I never thought, for example, that, I don't want to be very polemic here, but I don't believe that Mary needed to be a virgin in order to be pure, because being pure or not is in the heart. That's what I always believed, even before I knew why. And it doesn't mean that I understand that the dogmas, that the symbols, that the ceremonies in all religion, they have a purpose. And this purpose was always good at start. But many times throughout human use of it, it becomes twisted much more for domination purposes than for the real spiritual roots that they meant one day. So many times we don't understand the reasons why something is being passed on throughout generations, and we just try to put something that is too big now in the same old little box. And of course it grew and it doesn't fit in there. So we need to amputate the better part, because we are here to grow and our understanding needs to grow. And one thing that this line of spirituality that I live says is that when Jesus came to earth 2022 years ago, humanity was very immature. Humanity was in the kindergarten of life. So he needed to speak in a way that was symbolic, so that all his teachings could survive throughout the generations with the same essence. And people, of course, were supposed to, every time you are more mature and more sophisticated and you can understand some more, you go deeper and deeper into the same little stories. So the same little stories have all the knowledge, all the teachings, all we need to progress. But he needed to be very simple at the time. So he told stories, but the interpretation of the stories, it's not interpretation, because when we interpret something, we take our lenses into this something. But the understanding, the living, be welcome, the living of the teachings, they need to progress. So what we talk in Spiritism is another view of the same stories, another approach to the same purpose. And this other approach is not judging. So everybody is welcome. And there is a sentence that I love that Kardec used to say. He said, when religion and science are in fight, stay with science. Mm-hmm. But of course, science is also limited by our intellectual knowledge, our intellectual abilities. So we need to stick to science. So if science is incompatible with a religious teaching, let's look at science, but let's look at it in a way that understands that we don't know everything yet. And we are very far from it. So science is also progressing. And it's very interesting that some books that were written by mediunity, when they were written many, many decades ago, they brought information that was considered wrong, both historically and scientifically. And now science is starting to explain what these books already said so many decades ago. Now science is discovering, anthropology and geology is showing things, is discovering things that were already said there. And so I like it because it's something, it's a philosophy that includes everybody, never excludes. We're no better than anyone else. Our faith is no better than anyone else. Each one has the faith that is necessary at that situation, at that location, at that point of time. And it's all playing its role into evolution, and that's okay. So completely different from the Catholic Church. And it's interesting that I went to a baptism this past weekend, and the priest was saying that we are only children of God when we are baptized. Before, or other religions, they're not children of God. They are creatures of God. We're not children of God. And I said, I of course, I was just sitting there and wishing the best for the child that was being baptized, who I love a lot. But I was like, oh my God, how can on these days someone openly say these hate speech? It is a hate speech. So you're saying that you are better than others. You're saying that you are the chosen, so the others are not. And it just doesn't fit in this globalized world where we are all together, where we are, of course, we have to care of what happens in the other side of the planet because it will affect us and we know it. At least in previous generations, they didn't know it, but we do. How can we close our eyes to our connection, unavoidable connection? How can we not care about someone else? Because this someone else is also my family. This someone else is someone who is here for a reason, here on earth for a reason. And this reason has to do with my reason to be here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here together at the same time. Full stop. And if I understand, coming back to the God signature in mediation, if I understand that every living being, not even only humans, every living being is here for a reason, and this reason was strong enough to help this life survive because it's not easy. If someone is an adult and is breathing, it's because this person survived many things, dealt with many difficult times, and survived, and survived, and survived. So how can I not see the greatness in this person? Whatever she did, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help this person reconnect to her inner forces and tools and possibilities. Because this is what will bring her out of conflict better than she was before. Even if it's not to hold hands, but to coexist in any way. That I'm not there to be the one to say which is best, which is worse. So this is all very connected. It's impossible to separate heart, soul, spirituality, intellectuality, and being a mediator.
Absolutely.
And so in my life, I had this Catholic education. I had this Catholic family, and it never touched me. But when I understood Jesus, and when I talk about Jesus, I'm not excluding Allah, I'm not excluding Buddha or whatever, or Krishna, or whatever other reference, because I'm sure that they all came with the same purpose of showing a way in a culture so that the people who could listen to them would have a light on to go through darkness and be a light one day in each vocabulary. So, but for my culture, where I was born, it was Jesus. And Jesus, as our guide, never excluded anyone. Jesus never told anyone that he met through his way, even those who wanted him dead, even those who had a profession that nobody else respected, even those he called brothers and sisters. So who am I to do differently?
Okay.
I
know. And that's what, Gabriela, that's what shows that you come from the heart. That's why the heart part of it, I don't even need to discuss with you. We know how much you come from the heart. So
even my daughter knows it. It's funny that when I start crying when we are watching a movie, or
so good thing,
especially Disney movies that I love or whatever.
Oh, that's
and
really
she
nice.
looks at me, she says, "Mom, are you crying?" But she already knows that I cry when I'm happy, when I'm touched in a good sense.
Oh, and that's really nice. I mean, to be able to connect to that part and to be able to let it be a part of you and not having to keep it inside, I think that's really nice. I think needs to be appreciated more than anything else. So that's really important. And that heart part of it is the most important part. Of course, all of them are important, but with you, that aspect of you coming from the heart, I think is really important. So now it is a matter of course, the soul. So you have to tell us about the soul. There is lots that you have to tell us, I know, but please.
Well, it will be the same path to realize the soul, because it's all about understanding that we are an eternal spirit or soul, whatever you call it, in a temporary body. So this Gabriela Ourivio Assmar here was many things else before. So that I can be my better version today, I had to be many other versions before. And even when my body dies, the matter dies, but the soul doesn't die. It's eternal. So that's a very important element into understanding the fairness of life. Because, and I'm here with the freedom to talk about my view of spirituality that respects every other view. But in my view, in this view that I share, in this philosophy of life, the fairness of life is connected to the eternal being that remains after the body is dead. Because if it was not like that, if we were not to be reborn, or in other words, have another chance to perfect ourselves a little bit each time until the day when we will be so close to God, not God ourselves, but so close to thee that we will not need the matter as a school, because each life is like going to another school year. So when we were in kindergarten, of course, we needed very simple lessons, and we were very limited in our ability to understand life. And then we grow and grow, and we go to primary school, and then to high school, and blah, blah, blah. And every time we can more. So we have more responsibility about what we do with the opportunities that we get. And we are already able to teach those who are in kindergarten and in primary school and so on and so forth. And we are always needing matter because, not always, but for a lot of time, because matter, being in a physical body, is what brings us the notion of urgency, the fear of pain, the hunger, the fear of something happening to those we love, happening in terms of finitude. This is what moves us in a much more didactic way into perfection. But of course, we are here on one stage that is not the last. We are, at least me, I'm very far from being perfect. So what I do with this life can accelerate or not my evolution. I cannot go back in terms of being less perfect than I am now, but I can decide to throw away this opportunity and not learn anything in this life and be absolutely equal when I leave this body. It is an option that is available. We have free will. Free will is exactly for that. We don't have free will when it comes to what we will go through in life. Many things will have to happen even if we don't like, or if we don't remember that we chose to go through that lesson. It's always a lesson. And if, on the other hand, instead of complaining, instead of rejecting the opportunities to grow, I take each one of them and say, what is this telling me? What is this showing me? Why does it hurt so much? What is it touching inside of me to hurt? Why do I connect to something that hurts me? If I ask these questions, I will be able to grow in a much faster way and really absorb all the potential of this one life, so that next life I can be in a better version, much better version, and so on until I don't need these lessons anymore and I can only be there to help others. But until that point, I need to be helped as well. And it's beautiful when we realize, and mediation is a great opportunity to realize how God acts in our lives through the other lives that are around us. So if someone hurts me, of course, this person was not born to hurt me. This person has its own purpose of being to be alive, and I'm not that important. But if the person is hurting me, it is showing me something that I need to look at and care and cure inside of me. So the people that we connect with, for the good and for the bad, are all there to support our growth, to help us see ourselves through the connections. And I love to realize that one of Jesus' sentences that are very repeated, often repeated, is that when two or more are together in my name, I will be there. So it's it's a very, if we take it literally, it would mean, in one interpretation, that if I am alone here, he's not with me. He will only be with me if there is someone else on my side, which is, of course, crazy. So when we go to the deeper understanding of this very well-known sentence, of course, it means that he with a major H, wherever we connect. He is the connection between us all, and we are all parts of thee. So how can I exclude someone that is also part of God, exactly like me? How can I not see myself in the other one if he is there to help me, even when I don't like?
So now, Gabriela, what you will need to do is, of course, we will continue the discussion after or during Federico's session, but just a little conclusion on heart, soul, spirituality, and mediation, whatever you want to just conclude on, and then I'll start that session and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
I believe that in every spiritual practice, and I'm saying that in a broad way, not only religion, if we go deep enough, we will always have the same essence, connection as the purpose and the benefit of being alive. And this is exactly what we need in many different vocabularies, in many different cultures, ways. What we need to remind the people who are in conflict, because when we are in conflict, the natural consequence is to try to exclude the other one. This is the behavior of litigation, for example. So what we do in mediation is the very opposite, is to remind people that whatever is separate needs to be re-included so that we can have a solution that works for everybody. Even if it's not the one that I would like, even if it's not everything that I dreamed of, but there must be a coexistence solution. Now, when we bring our spiritual being, this being that knows so much more than fits in our brain, into the mediation role, the mediator role, it naturally brings everybody else's possibility to this level of understanding, even if it's not conscient. We don't need to make it consciently. Many times people will be unaware of this level of depth when they are signing an agreement. But the more we are conscient about it, the easiest it is to help parties transform a conflict into a lesson and take on their lives in a higher vibration than they were before. Even if it's not to be what they were before, they will be better beings after going through this experience.
Perfect. That's really nice, Gabriela. I know, look, it's not fair to have your session only for an hour. Definitely it isn't. But because of so many people in the symposium, I have to keep everyone's session for 1 hour. So I'm going to just end the session here. And when we start Federico's session. So thank you very much, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that now the best is starting.
So no, the best is always there. All of you are the best.
And I'll be here for a while, and then I'll leave.
We'll bring you here. Whenever Federico wants you. Yeah, whenever Federico wants, he'll get you
as much as possible.
He'll get you in. So
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Let me just end the session.